Hi, Dr. Yass here. In this video, I wanted to talk about the vast distance that specific symptoms could be described from a particular woman that I just did a Zoom with, and how shockingly the symptoms were all connected by weakness of muscles surrounding the shoulder and shoulder blade. So it was actually quite interesting, and I can kind of show you right here that she actually described one of her symptoms as being pain all the way down at the mid-back, very close to where the bottom of the rib cage was, near the thoracic spine. She complained of neck pain here. She complained of dizziness sometimes, and especially when she would be holding something that was fairly heavy in front of her. And then she complained of wrist pain. So we have symptoms at the mid-back, we have symptoms in the upper back, we have dizziness, and we have pain at the wrists. And if she doesn't know me, I would probably imagine that she would be going to several different doctors who would be addressing her wrist as a singular issue, her mid-back issue as a singular issue, her upper back issue, and certainly the dizziness. She'd be going to a cardiologist, a pulmonologist, or neurologist, or something like that. And yet, in coming to me, she was able to see, and I was able to provide her a narrative as to all of this stuff actually related to specific weakness of muscles that related to the shoulder and shoulder blade. So let me give you the understanding. So number one, we'll talk about the weakness at the wrist. She said she was pushing something, and all of a sudden she felt pain there, and it's been months since this happened, and she's been unable to resolve that symptom. Well, you need to understand that the idea of the hand being used to grab or manipulate objects is correct, but the hand was never designed to lift objects or push objects or something of that nature. The whole idea is that the hand attaches to the forearm, attaches to the upper arm, attaches to the shoulder blade, and the shoulder blade has to be held against the rib cage so that the entire complex is stabilized to allow you to push through your hand, or in this case, at the wrist. And since those muscles are weak, her ability to create force at the wrist are limited, so the muscles that are stabilizing the wrist ended up having to overwork, and that's why they strained. In terms of pain all the way down at the thoracic spine, at very close to the bottom of where the rib cage is, it turns out that that's a muscle called the lower trapezius muscle, and from this picture you can see the lower trapezius, although attaching to the thoracic spine down here, attaches to the shoulder blade. So straining of this muscle will relate to shoulder dysfunction. Again, a problem with the muscles that address the shoulder and shoulder blade. Over here you can see this is the levator scapula, which attaches into the cervical region, but again on its bottom attaches to the shoulder blade. So that area of pain she was having near the neck had nothing to do with the cervical spine. That's crap, even though it attaches to that. That muscle, levator scapula, is Latin for elevate the shoulder blade. So again, it's a muscle that's associated with shoulder function. The one that might be most confusing for people is the idea of having some sort of dizziness associated with performing action in front of you. What you need to understand is that you have the carotid artery, which provides blood to the front half of the brain, but the vertebral artery, which runs through the transverse processes, the points that come out from the cervical spine, run through the vertebrae and are very close to a muscle called the anterior scalenes. Well, if you end up holding things in front and straining and pulling your shoulders forward, you can thicken the anterior scalene so that when it gets activated, it can impinge on the vertebral artery, limiting blood flow to the back half of the brain. So what you can see quite remarkably is that symptoms at the wrist, the mid-back, and very close to the bottom of the rib cage, the upper trap region, and dizziness are all associated with weakness and dysfunction of the shoulder and shoulder blade musculature. So what was kind of cool was, along with all this stuff, I was actually able to show her that her posture represented this very weakness, and so she kind of ended up having this forward head and rounded shoulder posture. After doing specific exercises, including strengthening the lower trap and the rhomboids and mid-traps, the muscles between the shoulder blades, we were able to take another picture, and there was a massive transformation of her posture. She was actually able to have greater range of motion. She noticed decreased pain at the upper trap and the lower trap. We will be anxious to see that when she does begin to use her arms again, that she actually has a lesser feeling or a resolved feeling of dizziness, because that anterior scalenes will maintain its proper length and will no longer be compressing that vertebral artery. So here you go. Altered sensations or symptoms at the wrist, the mid-back, the upper back, and dizziness were all associated with one particular type of muscular weakness, a deficit associated with shoulder dysfunction. So basically, in doing 4 exercises, she was able to resolve all those symptoms. This is why you need someone of my magnitude who actually interprets the body's presentation of symptoms to see if there is some sort of connection. I hate to say it, but usually there is, because the connection of all the symptoms is due to dysfunction, and usually it's only a couple of muscles that are responsible for that level of dysfunction. Where the symptoms present themselves is based on what muscles end up breaking down and eliciting symptoms, but ultimately the cause oftentimes can be associated with only one particular group of muscles, or a group of muscles in a particular area. So hopefully this is why you recognize going to the medical system to try to get a diagnosis. You have to agree that based on those 4 symptoms, you would have gone to 4 different doctors. Nobody would have connected those symptoms. But the YASS method does, because it understands how symptoms are associated with dysfunction and what is responsible for dysfunction, which ultimately is most likely a particular group of muscles. So if you like this video and it's making sense to you, please give it a thumbs up. If you like this video and the other types of videos I'm putting on my YouTube channel, Dr. Mitchell Yass, please subscribe to the channel so you can get updates, notifications when new videos are added. I'm adding them almost every day. We're trying to get a lot of content out there to help people make better decisions about what is causing their pain and how they want to be treated, and why basically going to the medical establishment pretty much guarantees a false diagnosis and treatment that will never resolve your pain, which is what has led to the chronic pain epidemic we see worldwide. If you would like to contact me, you have a question, you're not sure what's going on, you'd like some information, you can contact me on my email address, drmitch@mitchellyass.com, mitch@mitchellyass.com. If you'd like to make a Zoom or Skype session, you can make an appointment for that so that I can help you get a better understanding of the cause of your symptoms. And if it is confirmed to be muscular, show you the types of exercise you need to do. These are great because they're videotaped. And in being videotaped, you have that as a reference to go forward after that session and make sure you're doing what you need to correctly and ultimately achieve that pain-free, fully functional life you so justly deserve. So for now, this is Dr. Mitchell Yass wishing you a pain-free, fully functional life. Bye-bye for now.